car accidents are one of the leading causes of death in the United States, with millions of people killed or injured each year. The harm that a single person may cause behind the wheel of an automobile can be catastrophic, as the worst car accidents in history demonstrate. Stay tuned to find out some of the craziest car accidents of all time, ranked from the craziest to the least craziest. Enjoy. 1982 Salang Tunnel Fire. An explosion killed 700 Soviet soldiers and 2,000 Afghans in the Salang Tunnel, which connects northern and southern Afghanistan, in November of the year 1982. The explosion caused a fire that burned all of the underground vehicles. The tunnel's occupants were killed by a combination of fire, smoke, and carbon monoxide. While the mayhem persisted, other cars proceeded to enter the tunnel, oblivious of the explosion. According to sources, it's still unclear whether this was an accident or a mujahideen attack in Afghanistan. Fearing an invasion, Soviet soldiers stationed tanks at the tunnel's openings. So many people died as a result of the blockage. This was an extremely tragic and shocking event that left many speechless and remains till this day to be one of the deadliest car crashes in history. 70-car pileup, 1990. On December 11, 1990, shortly after 9 a.m., severe fog coated I-75 in Tennessee, resulting in a 70-car pileup. There were warning signs posted, but the situation deteriorated too quickly for them to be much of assistance to the motorists. The devastation spanned half a mile and claimed the lives of 13 people. The confusion was exacerbated by the car fires, which drew the attention of 33 different fire departments. According to survivors, it seemed like unending bombs and bullets were going off as cars slammed into the chaos. Tennessee has now upgraded its fog warning system to include fog sensors that can adjust the readout on highway signs to inform vehicles and shut off ramps to prevent traffic jams. To aid in the navigation of cars stranded in foggy circumstances, reflective markings and flashing lights were out. 2017 Bahawalpur explosion. The explosion aboard an overturned oil tanker resulted in the deaths of hundreds of people, 219 to be exact. The truck driver attempted to make a fast curve at high speeds in Pakistan's Bahawalpur district, which resulted in the accident. The driver was killed in the first accident, but many of those killed were local citizens who had come to the site to siphon gas from the overturned truck. According to reports, someone on the site had lit a cigarette moments before the fire started. At the time of the explosion, the tanker was carrying about 40,000 liters of petroleum. The Italian Grand Prix, 1961. The Italian Grand Prix, the seventh race of the 1961 championship and a vital race to determine the season's driver's champion, had a deadly history. It was a horrible accident, with 16 people killed, including a championship contender. Wolfgang von Trips, Phil Hill, Sterling Moss, and Richie Ginther were the contenders for the title. However, the statistics revealed that there were just two drivers, Von Trips and Hill. As they competed for the championship, no one could have predicted that it would soon turn into a catastrophe. The race was still in its early stages, and the engines had just warmed up. As the second lap came to a close, Von Trips lost control of his Ferrari and crashed into a crowd of spectators. At the time of the crash, 15 spectators were killed. Von Trips died as a result of his injuries incurred in the accident. Phil Hill would go on to become victorious in the race and the championship later that year. Dust storm, 1991. Winds along the I-5 in California hit 40 miles per hour as traffic increased, with tourists going home following the Thanksgiving holiday weekend in November of 1991. Due to the extreme drought, the normally lush farmlands were left unplanted. A strong dust storm was whipped up by the wind, greatly reducing vision. This resulted in a 104-vehicle pileup on a 1-mile stretch of highway, including 4 tractor trucks. 17 people had been killed and 105 had been critically injured after hours of rescue efforts in the raging dust storm. Thousands more people were stranded in their automobiles for another day as road crews tried to clean the wreckage and reopen the highway. 1991 truck explosion. There appeared to be no danger at the crash site after a dynamite truck tipped over in rural Thailand, so several bystanders gathered out of curiosity. Unfortunately, the vehicle exploded a few hours later in February of 1991, killing over 100 people. The majority of those killed were individuals who had gathered to see the damage. The truck happened to be on its way to a neighboring quarry to deliver the dynamite bundle. The explosion claimed the lives of over 50 people and destroyed over 50 homes. Belgian Grand Prix, 1982. Despite the fact that the main race has the most incidents, practice sessions and qualifications do not lack in any way. One such instance occurred during the 1982 Belgian Grand Prix 3 when a deadly crash occurred during the final qualifying. Giles Villeneuve, a Canadian driver, finished 6th in the qualifying round. Giles kept the pace going with just a few minutes left in the practice, aiming for a faster lap time. Jochen Maas was driving ahead of him at a steady and comfortable pace. Giles planned on passing him and taking the lead. Giles was detected behind Maas, and he expected him to cut in and grab the lead. As a result, he switched right to let Giles pass. Maas, on the other hand, was to be passed via the outward sector by Giles. As a result, he moved to the right side of the track as well. Giles collided with Maas at a high speed because of the instantaneous shift of both vehicles in the same direction. Giles' Ferrari took to the air and remained airborne for a short time before nosediving into the ground. Giles was pushed out of his seat and carried for approximately 50 meters, making it one of the deadliest Formula One car crashes ever. Giles was airlifted to the hospital and placed on life support. Giles died that evening, just hours after the tragedy. 2012 tanker explosion. In July of 2012, a Nigerian fuel truck tipped over and ruptured its tank near the small community of Okobi, near a petroleum station. An explosion occurred as individuals gathered to take the spilling fuel, killing and injuring hundreds of people. Apparently, the truck driver lost control of the vehicle and crashed into the car. He also issued repeated evacuation warnings for more than 40 minutes as people gathered around the accident site. The Fresno Highway, 2007. The Fresno Highway pileup, which occurred in November of 2007, has been dubbed one of the greatest collection of deadly car wrecks in the history of the United States. The California Highway Patrol later officially reported that over 100 cars and trucks collided while driving on a foggy freeway, killing at least 2 people and injuring scores more. When asked about it, firefighters who arrived on the site said they could still hear automobiles bashing into each other after they arrived, implying a devastating domino effect. The main cause was a dense fog in central California known as tool fog. 2000 tanker explosion. In November of 2000, a speeding fuel truck collided with gridlock traffic near Lagos, Nigeria. The collision happened on a road connecting the cities of Ife and Ibadan in the state of Osun. A definite death toll was never ascertained. However, over 100 individuals died, many of whom were burned to death near the explosion. According to reports, the collision may have been caused by local police officials. The cops, who had set up a roadblock to collect tolls when the fatal crash occurred, have been accused of reckless corruption. The accident was especially controversial because it was Nigeria's 4th highly casualty traffic disaster in 3 months, and many people blamed poor road conditions and the poor make of the vehicles. 2007 truck explosion. A truck turned over and detonated in the small Nigerian town of Kagarko in March of 2007, according to CBC. Attempting to retrieve petrol from the wrecked car claimed the lives of many victims. A definite death toll was never determined since many victims were charred beyond recognition, but they estimated that over 70 people lost their lives in the tragic incident. In some places of Nigeria, deaths from siphoning gasoline have become routine, with hundreds of people dying each year. 2018 New York limousine. An accident involving an extended limousine killed 20 people on their way to a birthday party in rural Schoharie, New York, in October of 2018. The 2001 Ford Excursion limo is said to have been driven through a famously dangerous junction, colliding with 2 pedestrians and a parked car before coming to a stop against a tree in the ditch. Pedestrians were killed as well. According to investigators, all 20 deaths, including the drivers, occurred in an instant, and this is the deadliest transportation catastrophe in the United States since a 2009 aircraft crash. The limo had been chartered by a newly married couple celebrating their 30th birthday, and many of the victims were in their 20s and early 30s. Stefan Eriksson crashes. 2006. Stefan Eriksson, who happened to be the former CEO of Gizmondo, a handheld game device, crashed his Enzo in Malibu while speeding down the Pacific Coast Highway at 162 miles per hour. Eriksson's car was split right down the middle by hitting a light as a result of the car crash. The most incredible part of the entire thing is that Eriksson walked away without barely any injuries or scratches, accusing him of lying to cover up his story. The crash provoked an international investigation, and he was sentenced to 18 months in prison as a result. And there you have it. Everything you need to know about some of the craziest and most deadly car accidents of all time. Thanks for watching.